Hello and welcome to the Getting Started with Terraform tutorial. My name is Carl Cardenas, and today I want to take the time to teach you a little bit about Terraform. Terraform is an open source tool from HashiCorp that is utilized for maintaining, defining, and provisioning infrastructure as code in a declarative manner. So what we're going to do today in this tutorial is that we're going to walk through how you install Terraform on your local system, and we're going to showcase how you can provision infrastructure resources through Terraform. So what we're going to do is we're going to be deploying a local Nginx server through a Docker container, and then we're going to validate that that Docker container that has the Nginx image is actually up and running by visiting our web browser and visiting localhost. So with that, let's just dive into it. So first things first, I have the tutorial guide right here in front of me. So I'm just going to follow the steps. And the first step is to install Terraform. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and download Terraform. Now, right now, I am using WSL2, which is the Windows Linux subsystem on Windows 10. So because of that, I'm going to right-hand click on the link. I'm going to open up my terminal window, and I'm going to simply just download the binary or the zip file in this case using wget. Excellent. So now we have wget. Now wget brought us the local Terraform binary. So with that, let's go ahead and unzip it. And the reason we want to unzip it is because the actual Terraform binary is actually found inside of the zip file. We're going to unzip it. And with that, I'm going to move the binary to my user slash local slash bin. And if we've done everything correctly, we can validate that Terraform is actually available in our system by issuing the Terraform version command. And indeed, we set it up correctly. Something important to keep in mind here is that by moving it to the users slash local slash bin, we are able to put our binary in our path. And this location is part of our environment variable path. Now, if you're using Windows, just regular Windows command prompt, it's a different process. In that case, you will want to change your environment variables by opening up your system properties like I have here on the screen. And if you click on environment variables, you can specify the location in your path. So for instance, if you want to use it for your user variables for my user, Carl, I would go to edit and I would simply add a new location to where I put the binary, or I could potentially put it in these already existing locations. So it's a little bit different with Windows, but just keep that in mind. So with that, let's go ahead and keep moving on with our tutorial. So now that we have Terraform available in our system, let's go ahead and actually create a folder that will house our Terraform configuration. So I'm going to create a folder using the make dir command. We're just going to call it Terraform demo. And I'm going to cd into Terraform demo. Now that we're in the demo, let's go ahead and create a file. And we're going to call this file main.tf. You can actually name this file whatever you would like. It just has to end in the .tf extension. That's how Terraform knows that this is a Terraform file. So with that in mind, let's actually go ahead and copy the code that we need. And let's start by defining our provider. So I'm going to copy this code and I'm going to put it in my main.tf file. So I'll open up my VS Code editor and we'll go ahead and start plugging in the configuration. So now we define our Terraform providers. In this scenario, we're only pulling in one provider, and that's this Docker provider. So what this code block does, it tells Terraform that I require these providers. And then this block over here, here's where we're passing the unique settings and attributes that we want for our provider. So on line 10, when I specify host, I'm giving it the host address for where I want this Docker to run. All right, so let's now go back to the tutorial and let's start writing some resources. So let's copy this code right here. And we'll go back into VS Code and just plop it down here. So what's happening right now? Well, we're defining two resources. If we look at the top one, Docker underscore image is actually specifying a Docker image. And the Docker image that we're specifying is for Nginx latest that is found in Docker Hub. The resource below Docker underscore container is actually a resource that manages the lifecycle of our container. And we can see here that it's actually pointing to this resource up here, Docker underscore image dot nginx image right here, and then the dot latest. We want the latest version of this resource. And then we're going to name this container training, and then we're going to specify some ports. We're going to expose the internal port of 80 inside a container, and we want to allow traffic to go into our container for port 80. This is important because this is an Nginx server, which is used for exposing websites. So right now, we have all the code that we need to get this tutorial running. So now let me bring up the command terminal. And the first thing we need to do is we actually need to initialize the Terraform. So that is done through the Terraform init command. So I'm going to go ahead and issue the Terraform init command. You're going to see it's going to initialize the backend. But then if we take a closer look here, it's actually pulling down the providers. And in our case, we are pulling down the Docker provider that's found in the Terraform HashiCorp registry online. Everything checks out and our folder has been successfully initialized. You might notice that there's an additional folder here, and just know that that's where all the binaries get pulled down. And you can see the provider binary here. But you also see that there's a Terraform lock.htcl. Just know that this is what keeps track of what version of the provider we downloaded. So in case you needed to recreate this somewhere else and you committed this to your favorite versioning control system, you would be able to pull down the same version. So it's just versioning locking. So now that our project has been initialized, we can actually get a preview of what it would be if Terraform actually deployed this. And the way we do that is through the Terraform plan command. So I'm going to go ahead and invoke this command. And what this command does, and it happened very quickly, is that it gives you a preview of what would happen when we actually run the Terraform apply. Terraform apply is the command that actually makes the real resources happen. But if we review this, you're going to see that there's a lot of different things that are happening. You see that plus indicates that it's creating. So this is creating a resource called Docker underscore container, running container, which is this guy that we define here. And you see that it says all these different values. Some of these are known after the apply, but some of them are known defaults like JSON file. But some of these are values we actually provided. So the name training, we actually defined that over here. And if we scroll down, we also see the ports that we defined. But know that some of these values that are defined here, just know that they're defaults from the resource. And then we see the other one we declared up here, Docker underscore image. And this again specifies which Docker image we want to pull down. And we specify that we want to use the Nginx, the latest version. So plan is going to add two resources. It's going to change 0 and it's going to destroy 0. This looks good. So with that, let's go ahead and actually do Terraform apply. And as expected, we get the same preview, two resources. And then Terraform is prompting us, do we want to perform these actions? And we do. So let's go ahead and say yes. So at this point, Terraform is actually defining these resources. I have Docker installed locally, so it's actually now creating the Docker container and spinning all of this up. So while this is happening, I'm going to pause the video and we'll return once it's been completed. And we're back. So at this point, my resources have been created. It didn't take too long. It took about 30 seconds. But you can see that the apply completed. We have two resources added. So at this point, let's go ahead and validate that our Docker container is actually up and running and that it has Nginx. So for that, we're going to visit localhost and we're going to specify the port of port 80 because that's what we specified. And if everything was done correctly, we should be seeing a welcome to Nginx welcome page. And indeed, we have it. So there we go. Our Nginx server, which is sitting on a Docker container, is up and running, and it was all stood up through Terraform. All we did was simply define the configuration template that we wanted. So at this point, we're actually done with our tutorial from a deployment perspective. But it's not a good habit to leave resources running if you're no longer using them, especially not in these modern public cloud providers where you're being charged per second or microsecond of utilization. So we want to clean up after ourselves. And a good way to do that is actually by using the Terraform destroy command. What the Terraform destroy command does is that it actually destroys all of the resources that we define through our Terraform template, which in our case was all the resources that we have in this main.tf. So I'm going to go ahead and issue Terraform destroy. Terraform destroy behaves similar to Terraform plan in that it gives you a preview of what it's going to do. So we see here that the minus in red equals destroy. So we're saying that the Docker container running container will be destroyed. And we also see that the Docker underscore image resource will also be destroyed. And again, Terraform is prompting us, do we want to continue with this or not? So I'm going to say yes. And Terraform will now start destroying all of our resources. And it did. It destroyed 2 resources. So if we now go to this, our website and in localhost and try to refresh it, you're going to see that it's going to start timing out. And we can already tell that it's timing out and the site can't be reached. So we have successfully cleaned up after ourselves. So what have we really learned today? Well, our learning objective was to stand up an Nginx server using Terraform, and that Nginx server was deployed through Docker. And then we wanted to validate that our container was up and running by visiting our local host through a web browser to make sure that it is indeed up and running. We created a folder, we initialized it, and then we deployed it by using the Terraform apply command. When we were done with using all of our resources, we deleted them using the Terraform destroy command. So what's important to keep in mind is that Terraform gives us a lot of benefits. One of the benefits is the ability to codify our infrastructure. The other is the ability to declare infrastructure in a very human readable fashion, which is declarative. But most importantly, we can recreate our infrastructure again and again because it's all codified. We simply need to invoke Terraform apply to deploy it again if we wanted to recreate this scenario. If you want to learn more about Terraform, please visit learn.hashicorp.com and check out the Terraform tutorials, and you can learn how Terraform can help improve your management of infrastructure for your own project. My name is Carl Cardenas, and thank you again for watching this demo.